inside the alleged ISIS plot to bomb New York's Capitol and attack senators. FBI sting stops alleged Capitol bomb plot before suspect could strike. Federal authorities say they have stopped an alleged ISIS-inspired terrorist plot targeting the New York State Capitol in Albany, with prosecutors accusing a 35-year-old woman of preparing an explosive attack intended to kill elected officials and damage one of the most important government buildings in the state. Jessica Bowie, of Albany, was arrested on August 19th after investigators say she took possession of what she believed was an operational explosive device. The device was actually inert and had been supplied as part of an FBI investigation, meaning authorities say the alleged plan was disrupted before a usable bomb could be deployed. Prosecutors say the Capitol was the target. The Justice Department alleges that Bowie developed a plan to attack the New York State Capitol while state senators were meeting inside. Federal investigators say she made repeated visits to the Capitol grounds, photographed the building, and discussed causing both human casualties and significant physical destruction. According to the criminal complaint described by prosecutors, Bowie allegedly said she wanted to destroy as much of the building as possible, kill senators during a meeting, and cause the loss of important government documents. Authorities say she wanted the attack to have a wider effect on the American political system rather than simply damage a building. That distinction makes the alleged target particularly significant. The Capitol in Albany houses the chambers of the New York State Legislature and the office of the governor, turning an attempted attack there into an alleged attempt to strike directly at the operation and symbolism of state government. The FBI says it watched the plot develop. The case appears to have moved beyond extremist rhetoric and into alleged operational planning before Bowie was arrested. Investigators say she carried out reconnaissance, obtained items that could be associated with constructing an explosive device, and sought assistance from people she believed could help her conduct an attack. Those contacts were connected to law enforcement. Authorities used confidential sources during the investigation, allowing agents to observe and document what prosecutors describe as an increasingly developed plan while preventing Bowie from obtaining a functioning bomb. Federal officials say Bowie was ultimately apprehended as she gained possession of what she believed was an explosive device intended for the Capitol attack. Investigators therefore controlled a critical element of the alleged plot before the arrest. The distinction matters. Prosecutors are not alleging that agents discovered an operational bomb planted inside the Capitol. They allege that Bowie believed she was acquiring one and intended to use it as part of her plan. Investigators allege an ISIS connection. The Justice Department describes the alleged conspiracy as ISIS-inspired and says Bowie recorded and distributed a formal oath of allegiance to the terrorist organization. Investigators also say accounts identified as belonging to Bowie contained extremist, anti-American material, including praise for the September 11th attacks and statements about poisoning people after traveling abroad. Those allegations are likely to become an important part of the government's effort to establish intent and demonstrate that her alleged activity went beyond political anger or violent fantasy. The FBI says Bowie intended to leave the United States following the proposed Capitol bombing and travel to territory associated with ISIS in Syria. Officials have consequently framed the investigation not simply as a domestic bomb case, but as an alleged attempt to support a designated foreign terrorist organization. Authorities say she wanted to kill politicians. The alleged choice of timing is among the most serious elements disclosed by prosecutors. Federal authorities claim Bowie wanted senators to be inside the Capitol when the explosive detonated. The alleged objective was therefore not simply destruction of property, but the killing of public officials and disruption of government itself. FBI National Security Branch Operations Director Matt Fodor said investigators had stopped an alleged plan to attack the Capitol and kill elected officials. The FBI's Albany field office similarly described the alleged scheme as detailed, serious, and dangerous. The investigation involved the FBI, alongside the Secret Service, Homeland Security Investigations, New York State Police, the Albany County Sheriff's Office, and Albany Police Department, illustrating the level of federal, state, and local coordination triggered by the alleged plot. Why the case matters beyond Albany. The alleged plot highlights one of the most difficult counterterrorism problems facing Western governments: radicalization that can develop largely through online material without requiring an attacker to belong to a conventional terrorist cell. ISIS lost the territorial caliphate it once controlled across large parts of Iraq and Syria, but the organization and its affiliates have continued to promote attacks and attract supporters internationally. That means the security threat increasingly comes not only from organized networks but from individuals who consume extremist propaganda and decide to act independently. The Bowie case, if prosecutors prove their allegations, would fit that wider pattern of ideological inspiration being converted into attempted violence against a symbolic public target. It also demonstrates why undercover operations remain central to American counterterrorism. By infiltrating or intercepting an emerging plot, investigators can allow suspects to reveal intentions and take evidential steps while ensuring that weapons or explosives supplied during the operation cannot actually hurt anyone. That approach can later attract scrutiny over exactly when a suspect moved from extremist beliefs toward an independently viable attack, making the criminal complaint and evidence gathered during the investigation particularly important as the prosecution develops. New York has increased security. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said security precautions were being strengthened around government facilities following the arrest, while stressing that authorities were not aware of an immediate continuing threat connected with the alleged plot. The arrest nevertheless comes amid broader concern about politically motivated and ideologically inspired violence against American public institutions and officials. A plot directed at legislators inside a state capitol represents precisely the kind of low-frequency but potentially catastrophic incident security agencies are expected to identify before an attacker reaches the final operational stage. No explosion occurred, nobody was injured, and authorities controlled the device Bowie allegedly believed she had acquired. That makes the investigation a counterterrorism success. If the government's account is ultimately established in court, an alleged attacker was allowed to expose enough of the purported plan for authorities to intervene without the public being placed in danger. What happens next? Bowie made her initial federal court appearance on August 20th and was ordered detained pending further proceedings. She has been charged with attempting to provide material support or resources to ISIS, a designated foreign terrorist organization. The offense carries a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, a fine of up to $250,000, and the possibility of lifetime supervised release if she is convicted. But the legal distinction remains essential. The allegations contained in the complaint have not yet been proven at trial, and Bowie is presumed innocent unless and until prosecutors establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. What federal authorities have presented so far is nevertheless unusually detailed, alleged extremist statements, an oath of allegiance to ISIS, reconnaissance of the Capitol, acquisition of materials, discussions about killing senators, and an arrest, as the suspect allegedly accepted what she believed was a functioning explosive device. The attack never occurred. The next battle will take place inside a courtroom, where prosecutors will have to prove that what investigators watched developing was not merely extremist rhetoric, but a genuine attempt to turn it into terrorism.